close your eyes. Imagine the silence between stars, not the kind of silence you find in an empty room, but a vast, breathing stillness that stretches beyond what thought can hold. Space, the word itself feels weightless, like the exhale of creation. It began, as all great things do, with nothing. Not the kind of nothing we can imagine. No dark velvet, no cold vacuum. Before time had a heartbeat, before light learned how to move, before existence had a name, there was no where for things to be. And then the universe inhaled. A breath of fire and light tore open the dark. Atoms danced for the first time. Space was born not as a thing, but as a rhythm, expanding, stretching, singing a silent song of distance. We often imagine the universe as a giant bubble, but it's not a bubble in anything. Space isn't expanding into something else, it's space itself that's stretching, carrying galaxies like lanterns drifting apart in a great invisible sea. From that first expansion, everything we know has been riding the wave. Galaxies swirling, stars burning out and being born again, dust becoming worlds, and on one small blue dot, consciousness opening its eyes and asking, does it ever end? To ask if space ends is to ask if the dream of existence has a border. Does infinity have an edge? Can you walk far enough to touch the wall of creation? The answer, as with all things cosmic, is both simple and unimaginable. Let's drift further. Imagine space not as emptiness, but as a fabric. A soft, invisible texture woven by geometry itself, what Einstein called space-time. Every star, every planet, every whisper of gravity presses against it, bending it gently like a hand on silk. When we say space is expanding, what's actually growing is this fabric. Galaxies aren't flying through space, they're being carried by space. Like raisins rising in a loaf of bread as it bakes. The raisins stay still, but the dough stretches between them. This expansion doesn't need an edge. It's like the surface of a balloon. As you blow air in, every point moves away from every other, but there's no center on the surface itself, and no boundary where it stops. You can travel forever around the balloon and never find a wall. Our universe may be like that, finite, yet unbounded. It could curve back on itself in ways we can't perceive. If you traveled in one direction long enough, you might return from the other side, though you'd never notice because space itself would have evolved in the time it took. But we don't yet know the true shape. Cosmic surveys suggest the universe is flat, not curved, stretching endlessly in all directions like an infinite sheet of nothingness, studded with light. Still, flat doesn't mean simple. Infinity, it seems, is more a property of thought than of geometry. So, does space end? So far, every horizon we chase recedes. The universe is not a room with walls, but a sea without shore. Our telescopes see light from 13.8 billion years ago, from when the first atoms began to glow. That light, stretched by the expansion of space, reaches us as a whisper, the cosmic microwave background, the oldest photograph in existence. Beyond that, we cannot see. Not because something blocks our view, but because light from beyond hasn't had time to reach us yet. That boundary is called the observable universe, a spherical bubble centered on you. Every being on every planet lives inside their own personal bubble of observation. Beyond it? We don't know. Perhaps space continues, infinite, endless, filled with galaxies forever. Perhaps it loops in ways our minds can't grasp. Or perhaps, somewhere beyond the horizon of light, The very laws of physics fade into something new. We stand, in a sense, at the edge of knowledge, staring into the darkness where questions dissolve. The universe is not obliged to make sense to us, yet it whispers clues through gravity, through starlight, through the quiet hum of radiation left from the beginning. When cosmologists measure expansion, they find that it's not slowing down. It's accelerating. Something unseen, a mysterious energy, is pushing the galaxies apart faster and faster. They call it dark energy, a name that hides our ignorance behind poetry. If this continues, distant galaxies will vanish beyond reach, their light stretched into nothing. The night sky will grow lonelier. Someday, even our local group of galaxies will drift in an ocean of darkness, isolated from the rest of creation. Perhaps then space will seem to have ended. Not because it truly does, but because nothing will remain to tell us otherwise. Infinity is a strange idea. Not a number, but a direction. It doesn't exist in nature the way we imagine. It exists in thought, in longing. When you gaze into the night sky and feel that quiet ache, that's infinity speaking. Mathematically, an infinite universe is possible. Philosophically, it's almost unbearable. If space truly goes on forever, then every possible arrangement of atoms must occur somewhere, including another Earth, another you, reading these same words beneath another set of stars. Not just once, but infinitely many times. In an infinite cosmos, meaning loops back upon itself. Every tragedy, every joy, every forgotten dream repeats across unimaginable distances. The universe then becomes a mirror, reflecting endless versions of existence. But maybe, just maybe, space isn't infinite after all. Maybe it's grand enough to contain our questions, but small enough to be complete. A perfect cosmic poem with no need for eternal repetition. Some physicists suspect our universe is one of countless others, a single bubble in a sea of universes, each expanding into its own dimensions like foam on an unseen ocean. If so, then the end of space may just mean the boundary between worlds, a place where our laws dissolve and others begin. In that sense, space doesn't end, it transforms. Drift now. Deeper. Beyond the glow of our Milky Way lies an ocean of galaxies, each a floating island of light. They drift apart, carried by the breath of expansion, like tiny lanterns released into an infinite night. If you could travel far enough, if your ship could glide faster than time itself, you would see them. Great spirals of stars curling like cosmic shells. Elliptical galaxies, pale and ancient, whispering of long-forgotten collisions. And dwarf galaxies, faint embers circling their giant kin. Together they form a web, the cosmic web. Not empty, not chaotic, but organized with eerie grace. Galaxies align along invisible threads of dark matter, like pearls on strings woven through black velvet. Dark matter, unseen, unfelt, yet holding everything together. It neither shines nor absorbs, but its gravity sculpts the universe. Without it, galaxies would fly apart like sparks in a breeze. With it, the cosmic dance endures, stable, silent, ancient. But what lies between these galaxies? Mostly, nothing. The average cubic meter of space contains less than one atom, a near-perfect void that stretches for billions of light years. And yet, even in that emptiness, space is alive. Quantum fields hum quietly. Particles flicker in and out of existence, ghostly blinks of reality. The universe, it seems, cannot bear to be truly empty. So, if you ask whether space ends, perhaps the answer is that it doesn't know how. It continues, because existence itself cannot stop humming. Light is our only map. Every photon, every shimmer of starlight that reaches us is a message from the past, a traveler that has crossed the fabric of time to touch our eyes. The farther we look, the older the light. A galaxy still a billion light years away is seen as it was a billion years ago. Our telescopes are time machines, gazing backward through the story of creation. But there is a limit, a horizon, beyond which we cannot see. Not because our instruments fail, but because light itself hasn't had time to arrive. That edge, the boundary of the observable universe, is not the edge of reality, only the edge of what can ever be known. Beyond it lies a silence we can never touch. When we peer that far, what we see is the afterglow of the Big Bang, a soft golden fog of radiation that has cooled and stretched over billions of years. It hums at microwave frequencies now, a faint whisper filling all of space. It is called the cosmic microwave background, the oldest light, the echo of creation's first dawn. That light tells us that space is flat and that it's growing faster. It tells us that 95% of the universe is something we do not understand, dark matter and dark energy, mysteries that shape the cosmos while hiding from our senses. Perhaps that is the universe's way of teaching humility. The more we see, the more we realize how little we can grasp. The edge of light is not a wall. It is an invitation. What lies beyond that horizon of light? We can only imagine. Maybe there are galaxies too far for their light to ever reach us, entire constellations forever hidden, cosmic civilizations whose suns will never be part of our sky. Maybe the universe is finite, a sphere wrapped upon itself, where traveling straight long enough would bring you home again, though the stars would have changed, and time itself would have aged beyond recognition. Or maybe it is infinite, an endless expansion of space-time with no edge, each region unaware of the others, forever drifting apart as the cosmic fabric stretches beyond measure. In an infinite universe, every possibility exists somewhere. A planet like Earth, with a sea like ours, a child looking at the stars, wondering the same question, does space end? And perhaps, in that infinity, the question itself becomes the answer. Space doesn't end because curiosity doesn't. The two are mirrors, one outside, one within. As long as there are minds to wonder, the universe will continue to unfold, endlessly, beautifully, silently. Now imagine the future. Billions of years from now, the stars we see tonight will be gone. New ones will be born, faint and distant, but the great cosmic web will have stretched thin, so thin that galaxies will slip beyond the horizon of visibility. The night sky will darken. Future astronomers, if any remain, will see only their local cluster, floating alone in a sea of blackness.
They will not know that other galaxies ever existed. The universe will seem small and lonely again, a quiet island surrounded by infinite dark. And yet, even then, space will continue to expand, unfolding silently into the unknown. Its rhythm will not stop. Even when light fades, expansion will hum beneath the silence. Maybe that is how the universe ends. Not with a bang, but a great forgetting. A cold, slow drift into endless stillness. Not an edge, but a sleep. And maybe, in that vast, eternal dream, a new spark will rise. Another breath of creation. Another beginning. Imagine the surface of a great ocean, calm, endless, shimmering in starlight. Now imagine beneath it, countless bubbles rising, each one a universe, expanding quietly in its own space and time. This is the multiverse, a possibility whispered by quantum physics and inflation theory. Our universe may be just one bubble in a cosmic foam, one note in an infinite cosmic symphony. Each universe might have its own laws, different kinds of matter, gravity that bends differently, perhaps even dimensions beyond our imagining. In one, stars might never form. In another, light might move slower than thought. And in one, this one, life found a way to ask about it all. If there are infinite universes, then everything that can exist does, and everything that cannot exists elsewhere, under rules that make it possible. You, listening to these words, exist in this one, where the constants of nature align so precisely that stars can burn and hearts can beat. Perhaps that is no accident. Maybe the universe is tuned not for us, but with us, as part of its own music. For consciousness, too, is a phenomenon of the cosmos. When you wonder about the universe is wondering about itself. So, does space end? Maybe not. Maybe it simply begins again, differently, beautifully, endlessly. We often picture infinity as a straight line without a stop, but the cosmos might be more like a circle without a seam. Space could be finite, yet unbounded, a cosmic loop where every path returns to its origin. Imagine sailing across an infinite sea, and after uncountable ages finding your own wake curving back toward you. That is how space might behave on the grandest scales. Its geometry may fold into itself. A hypersphere, a torus, a fabric with no edge and no center.
We cannot see this curvature directly because the visible universe is too small compared to the whole. But in subtle patterns of the cosmic microwave background, scientists search for echoes, repeating imprints that could reveal whether our cosmos curls back upon itself. So far, the data says it's flat. But flat may only describe what we can see. A great mountain may look flat to an ant, and we are smaller than ants in the story of the universe. If the universe is curved, it may be whispering a truth, that infinity is not the absence of boundaries, but the perfection of connection. There is no wall to touch, no edge to fall from, only a path that forever leads you home again, in ways you cannot yet perceive. Every particle, every atom, every ripple of energy is part of a single, unbroken field. Space itself is that field, a sea of possibility, a vibration that never ceases. When you breathe, The atoms in your lungs were once forged in a star. The oxygen you inhale carries the memory of supernovas. Your body is not separate from space. You are space, gathered into a temporary pattern, a wave in the great field of existence. Perhaps that's why the night sky feels so intimate. It's not out there, it's within. When you look at the stars, you are seeing parts of yourself scattered across time. Maybe the question, does space end, is not about boundaries, but about awareness. The universe expands outward, but consciousness expands inward, and somewhere they meet. If existence is a dream, it is a lucid one, a dream that knows it is dreaming, stretching its arms through starlight to feel what it has become. Maybe the cosmos isn't just a place, maybe it's an idea, thinking itself into being for the sheer joy of seeing what it can be. There comes a point where even imagination feels small. The distances grow too great, the scales too vast, and language itself begins to dissolve. We call it the end of space, but what we really meet there is the end of thought. Beyond the observable, beyond the equations, there is only the silence, the quiet, endless hum of what we cannot name. And yet, that silence is not empty. It is full of potential. Like the pause before a heartbeat, the stillness before creation breathes again. Maybe the universe is not expanding from a beginning, but breathing. In and out, eternally. Big bang, big sleep, big breath. A rhythm of existence too vast to hear. When you listen closely, perhaps you can feel it, that faint pulse beneath your own, the same pulse that stirs galaxies and stars and makes the atoms of your body tremble with being. Space, then, does not end. It rests, it exhales, and it waits for another awakening. Every fire, no matter how grand, must one day burn out. So too with the stars. In the far future, trillions upon trillions of years from now, the brilliant constellations we know will vanish. Red dwarfs will flicker out like old candles. The great blue giants will have died long before. Galaxies will dim until only faint embers remain. A slow snowfall of light across the black sea of time. This era will be called the degenerate age, when the universe is ruled not by stars, but by ghosts. White dwarfs, neutron stars, black holes, remnants of once burning suns lingering in silence. Their orbits will continue for eons, slowly decaying as gravity sighs and time stretches thin. Even these husks of matter will someday cool and crumble until nothing shines and nothing moves. But the universe will still exist, dark, vast, and cold, its expansion still unfolding quietly into the unknown. No edge, no boundary, just the endless drift of time into stillness. And maybe, in that stillness, the universe will finally hear itself think. What does it mean for time to end? Not to stop ticking like a clock, but to lose meaning entirely. As the last stars fade and the last black holes evaporate, there will be nothing left to change. No motion, no events, no cause or effect. Without change, time itself dissolves. Moments cease to flow. The universe becomes a frozen ocean, perfectly still. This is called heat death, not a fiery end, but a quiet one. Entropy, the great equalizer, has done its work. Energy has spread so evenly
that nothing more can happen. No structure, no sound, no warmth, only equilibrium. But there is something hauntingly beautiful in this thought. The universe began in perfect order, a single flash of energy and possibility. It will end in perfect balance, a stillness that needs no continuation. Perhaps that's not death, but peace. The cosmic story, having sung its final note, rests in eternal silence.
But silence is never truly empty. Even in that final stillness, quantum whispers continue, fields vibrating ever so faintly, the same kind of hum that once birthed existence itself. Perhaps in some remote corner of that endless calm, a fluctuation will rise, a spark in the darkness, a new Big Bang, a new universe unfolding like a dream. And just as before, atoms will form, light will blossom, and galaxies will drift through newborn skies. The universe may not die. It may simply sleep and wake, again and again, each cycle a heartbeat in eternity. Each expansion erases the memory of the last, but the pattern remains. Creation is not an event, it is a rhythm. Maybe that's why time feels like breathing. Maybe that's why existence feels familiar, as if we've lived it all before. Imagine this. The universe has exhaled all it could. Every star is gone, every atom stretched thin across infinity. Then, quietly, the breath turns. Gravity stirs again. The great cosmic tide reverses. Galaxies fold inward. Light returns to fire. The whole story begins anew, different, yet the same. This is the idea of the cyclical universe, that existence is eternal, not linear, but circular, each age birthing the next. And if that is true, then perhaps we have already been here before. You, me, this moment, this question. Does space end? Maybe what we call the end is just the turning of the page, the universe dreaming itself again, trying once more to understand its own vastness. And we, tiny sparks of awareness, are the eyes of that dream, opening, briefly, to witness the wonder. Space is not a stage where matter performs. It is the performance itself. Every particle, every grain of dust is a vibration of the same invisible field, a single cosmic chord humming in countless keys. Physics calls it the quantum field. Einstein called it space-time. But perhaps it is better thought of as awareness made tangible, the universe thinking in form. From that field arose atoms, from atoms, stars, from stars the carbon and oxygen that fill our veins. The line between you and the night sky is only a trick of perception. You are made of space thinking about itself. If the universe seems conscious through you, maybe that is its way of learning its own name. When you look into the dark and wonder whether it ends, the cosmos is looking back, measuring the reach of its own thought. Time is not a river that carries us. It is the current we create by existing. Einstein once wrote that the distinction between past, present, and future is only an illusion, a persistent one, but an illusion all the same. Everything that has ever been, and everything that will ever be, exists at once, folded into the fabric of space-time like patterns in a great cosmic quilt. Light reveals this. A photon leaving a distant star does not experience time. For that tiny traveler, the moment of departure and arrival are one. To the photon, the universe has no age, only presence. So perhaps the universe never ends because it never truly moves, it simply unfolds. And our minds translate that unfolding
into the rhythm we call time. We ride that rhythm, believing it to be a journey, when it may only be a dance. All our telescopes, equations and dreams stretch outward through darkness, yet what we seek might not lie beyond, but within the act of seeking itself. Every question adds a spark to the universe's self-portrait. When a child lifts their eyes to the Milky Way, when an astronomer tunes a mirror to catch ancient light, when you listen to this voice drifting through your headphones at night, each is part of the same experiment, to turn mystery into wonder rather than fear. Science, poetry, faith, they are all ways of touching infinity without demanding it to end. They remind us that meaning is not found at the limits of space, but in the gaze that notices the limit. And perhaps that is the true horizon of space, the boundary where knowing meets awe. Beyond it, there are no answers, only the soft, eternal perhaps that keeps existence breathing. So does space end? No wall, no edge, no curtain waits for us. Only the fading of light into silence, and the silence into possibility again. The universe expands, but expansion is only another way of saying it lives. It inhales galaxies and exhales time, each breath a trillion years long. One day the breath will pause, and in that pause, so still you could mistake it for nothing, the seed of a new beginning will stir. If you listen closely now, in the quiet between your own breaths, you may feel that same rhythm. It is the pulse of space itself, flowing through your chest, reminding you that you have always belonged here. When your eyes close tonight, you will not fall into darkness. You will return to the same vast awareness from which the stars themselves were born. Space does not end. It rests in you. And in that resting, it dreams again.